Holy mackerel. Cern Basher is here. And Cern and I had a little discussion in the green room. We both agree we are living in interesting times. And maybe yesterday will be, if Trump has said anything correctly that nobody can argue with, is that yesterday will probably be a day that we remember.
Yes, I think so. And we live in interesting times. I hope we don't live in interesting times,
Yeah.
but I fear that we will be.
Yeah. Well, um, I get the impression listening to folks on CNBC this morning that most of the talking heads over there think that these are the tariffs that somehow China is going to end up paying a 57% tariff on everything that leaves China. Is that your impression?
I think there's a lot of confusion out there, right? And rightly so, fairly so, right? This has been a pretty fast moving process. But like everything with Trump, it's a negotiation. My perspective is that he has to move fast. As I mentioned to you in the green room, I don't think there's going to be another general agreement on trades and tariffs conference anytime soon. We don't have time for that, right? So, yeah, what we see today could be very different tomorrow, and could be very different by April 9th.
Or by the end of April or into May?
Right.
I don't think these negotiations end anytime soon. Um, the other thing I thought this morning, CERN, was that we're really talking about maybe seven countries that matter. I mean, once we get past seven countries, the amount of trade each way is
Yeah.
pretty insignificant in terms of our cost of living, our, impact on consumers of any significance. Would that be about right?
Yeah, when I saw the numbers on for the Falkland Islands, I think it was like a 57% barrier or something, or maybe it's 39%. I forget the exact number, but I'm like, oh my goodness, that's pretty high for them. I'm not even sure what we purchased from the Falkland Islands. I suppose it might be some fish or something, but yeah, that's not going to move the needle.
Yeah.
Certainly China, Canada, Mexico, I guess Europe in general, but yeah, there's just a few important trading partners. Japan is another one.
Right, right. South Korea. I mean, yeah. I
Yeah,
think I think we know who the players are. A few of the European countries,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah. I think, but once you get past about seven, eight, it starts to really drop off. And once you and they talk about the dirty 15, um, you know, but I think we've got enough guys in the Commerce Department that they can, not Commerce, I guess. Is it Commerce? Is this a part of Commerce that works on this, or is this?
I think so.
Like, not the State Department, so this would be part of Commerce.
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
whoever it is, I'm sure we got enough guys who can negotiate these situations over the next few weeks. I mean, like Israel yesterday said they would drop everything to zero,
yeah.
and yet they still imposed a 17% tax. I assume that that's in a conversation already, and that maybe that would be one of the first announcements.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. From a political standpoint, Trump wants to certainly position it, like he's getting all these wins and all these concessions. So there's a political element to it as well. There's also a timing element. I would imagine that it's pretty hard to field the calls of all the world leaders at the same time, right?
Right.
So there's going to be lots of conversations had in the coming weeks.
All right. Well, I'm assuming that maybe you've put together a slide deck. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I have a few slides, Randy. Would you like
Okay.
to
All
see
right.
them?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah. It's always fun.
All right. Well, let's start with this great image. For our Wisconsin friends out there, this is quite a coup to get Elon to wear the cheese head.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does look pretty good on him, actually. He wears it well. There are very few people that can wear the cheese head well. Um, I wonder if he kept that. I wonder if we'll see him wear that again.
No, actually, he signed it and threw it out to the crowd.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yes, I did see that.
Yep.
So smart man. He's not collecting assets. He's shunning them as he goes.
Wonder
Yeah,
what it'll be worth.
yeah. All right. Well, I just need to show this here for a brief
Sure.
second, and we can move on.
Sure.
Uh, as you know, we talk about Cybertrucks on the show, and so here's an image of one that not my favorite color, but it does look pretty cool.
You
You
know,
know?
that's pretty amazing. It does remind me of a back and forth I had with Kelly on X over the last couple of days. I don't know if you saw that back and forth, but she has the beautiful, beautiful rose. I couldn't drive it myself, but she's got this wrap. I guess it's a wrap or it's paint. I'm not sure, but amazingly just like a jewel rose Model S, maybe might be a three. I'm not sure. I can't remember which one it is. But
Mm.
anyway, beautiful job. And she's kind of a fun, presence on X. So she managed to say the other day that she was going to sell it, that she was tired of the grief. She was tired of the folks giving her the finger or whatever, and that she was going to sell it. And I popped straight back and said, I've been such a fan. But
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I may have to block you if this is true
on April 1st,
on
I guess.
April
Yeah.
1st. Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, well, somebody tried to fool me, and you know him well.
Uh-oh.
Our friend Scott Walter,
Oh, Scott tried to do an April Fool's on you.
yeah, suggested to a group of us that BYD had made an offer for Figure AI, and it was a pretty astounding number, and it was worth more than BYD's current market cap.
I see. I see.
Now, it didn't fool me being the finance guy, but the other guys on the group chat were fooled. So it was kind of
Oh
fun
my
to watch it.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
great.
And not so great Cybertruck news. This gentleman was T-boned by a guy in a truck, and the good news is he and his daughter were fine.
Yeah.
And it just again shows how strong this
Right.
this truck is. Um, and so any other vehicle probably this might have been a different result for the people inside.
Yeah.
Cybertruck probably is the safest vehicle on the road. Airbags deployed. Everybody was okay.
Nice.
So that was good. Um, this is coming to Roswell, New Mexico. It's kind of fun. They're planning a cyber UFO themed supercharging station with 8 charging stalls located under a cyber canopy.
Huh.
Okay, and so the here's another close-up image of it. I wonder if these are different versions of Cybertrucks. They look a little different, but perhaps not. Um, and then, of course, the head of the supercharging at Tesla said, "We want to build a few superchargers cool enough to be worthy of the trip itself. Wish we could have kept it under wraps for longer, but submittal was needed for planning approval. We can't hide anything from Marco, our PI1. So there's some eagle eyes out there keeping an eye on things.
No kidding. Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Very fun. Very
Yeah.
fun.
So those would be fun to think, fun things to look forward to. I've said actually for a long time that they should create some destination superchargers,
Yeah.
give people a reason to go to some different ones in different places. Yeah. So that would be a neat one. Well, by the way, in this image here, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but there's a LED image there of the when you order a vehicle, particularly a Cybertruck, this is what appears on the screen. And so here we are in South Korea with South Koreans ordering new Model Y.
I see.
You get the hedgehog, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And so this is a collage of all the orders in South Korea. South Koreans right now seem to be ordering a lot of them.
Yes.
So that's a good sign.
Very good sign.
No problems with brand damage in South Korea, Randy.
Yeah.
This is just the most recent China deliveries through this Tuesday. And what's nice about this is year to date, deliveries in China are basically right on par with deliveries from 2023, which is the green line, and slightly ahead of deliveries from last year, which is the blue line, and way ahead of 2022 deliveries.
Right.
So despite a 3-4 week shutdown, deliveries in China have been pretty strong. Now, of course, the nice thing about China is they've got the Chinese New Year, which took out a chunk of time anyway. It's kind of a slow time of year. So if you're going to do a product changeover, that's the time to do it,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then this is the track for the full year. So here we are in yellow. This is where we stand now. And so here's how 2023 went and 2024 in blue. And it wasn't until later in the year did 24 exceed 2023. If you recall the concerns last year that they wouldn't sell more vehicles in China than they would in 2023.
Right,
Well,
right.
that wasn't an issue. And so here we are now. So it'll be interesting to see how this tracks. But we're in a good spot right now. We're basically on par with the 2023 numbers.
Yeah, I have to believe they're going to sell out China all year long, which
Yeah.
would take us to 1 million or more.
Yeah, China should do pretty well because also it supplies South Korea and other nations that are ordering like crazy right now.
Right.
Yeah. All right. This is just the weekly insured units. We don't know deliveries for sure in China, but we get these weekly insured units numbers, which are a proxy for deliveries.
Mhm.
And last week was the fourth best week ever for
Mhm.
Tesla,
Mhm.
right? And these actually top 4 weeks are kind of an aberration. Normally it's, more down here. So it'd be interesting to see, how this chart continues to go from here. Now, I would imagine in the early weeks of Q2, which we're in now, they were probably going to prioritize exports.
Right.
So we may see a bit of a fall off here for a few weeks, which is pretty normal.
But at 21,000 times 52, you're at 1 million. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good healthy number. And then the one thing that I did is say, okay, if this is our high watermark, let's compare everything to that high watermark. If this is kind of the ultimate capacity of the factory at that time when that was achieved, which is a little bit, it's quite a while ago now. Here's this chart. So this was the point that high watermark was reached a couple of years ago now. And so this chart sort of shows how many vehicles, um, you know, below that they're producing on a weekly basis,
mhm, mhm,
right? And so
mhm.
this past week we were just maybe a couple thousand less than that capacity, right? And on a percentage basis, we're at about 90% of that theoretical capacity of 23,000 vehicles a week.
Right.
Now, it may well be that capacity is climbing and maybe we'll hit a new number. But this is certainly a good sign that they're producing at that level.
Well, we have three things that immediately come to mind in terms of increasing even increasing above the 1 million or so level. One of those would be there's conversations that we will make Cybertrucks in China.
Mm.
We've got Model Q, which theoretically is going to be made in China. I don't know where they're going to make it, but Brian White and I have had multiple discussions about how that could happen. They did free up some space last year when they were changing over that Model Y line. And then eventually we're talking about making cybercabs there. We also have the faster rate, the 35-second rate, compared to the 42 or whatever it was before, 47, I forget. But anyway, so there's all kinds of possibilities of how these numbers might be lower. Even the 1 million unit number might end up being low.
Well, I think ultimately it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether that's true in 2025 remains to be seen.
Right.
But 1 million this year would be great. Yeah. And then yesterday we had the production and delivery report.
Mhm.
And so one of the topics of discussion was, why were the numbers so low? All right. And my response is it's just math. And so here's kind of an example of that, or what I put together to sort of help explain what's going on. So in Q4 of 2024, Tesla produced about 460,000 vehicles. Okay. That works out to 5,111 per day for a 90-day quarter.
Got it.
Okay. So that's these blue bars.
Mhm.
So every day they're producing worldwide 5,111 vehicles
Got it.
for 460,000 for a quarter. Okay. So what happens then when you shut down production for 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
And your you haven't shut down production completely. You're still producing Model 3s and other vehicles, but
Mhm.
you shut down production, let's say, to this level. Okay. And then if you could instantly ramp up, you would be on this orange line, and then you'd be producing back at your capacity again.
Mhm.
But the reality is you're probably going to ramp up production over a period of a couple of weeks. Some people have suggested it takes even longer than that. Okay.
Right.
Now, when you run these numbers and you add them up over 90 days, you get this. So again, the blue bars, here's your 460. If you had instant ramp up, you'd get to 384. If you had a 2 week ramp back up, you'd get to 361, 362. And
Mhm.
by the way, what did they produce? 362,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So just follow the math and you get to the number that they produced last quarter,
Right. Right.
right? Now, a lot of people suggested, well, yeah, the production's low because brand damage, no one's buying a Tesla. And it's like, well, no, it just takes time. If you shut down production, a little bit of a ramp, that's the number you get to, even if you just continue Q4's production levels.
Yeah.
So I actually think that there was really no brand damage likely for Tesla in Q1, or if there was, it
No,
was
no impact from brand damage.
no impact from brand damage.
Although my argument has been that there's probably some brand damage to the Cybertruck because
Well,
it's,
Cybertruck has certainly some of its own issues. I apparently there might have been a shortage of inverters for the Cybertruck
oh, okay.
that might have caused a little bit of production problem.
Okay.
Uh, so we don't know for sure exactly what's going on with the Cybertruck. Certainly, lowering the price will do a lot for the
Right.
Cybertruck,
Right. Yes.
right? And perhaps this idea of lower cost models that it relates to the Cybertruck as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we'll just have to see.
Right.
From what I can see from Joe Techmeyer's videos, that the production of Cybertruck is ramped back up again or ramping back up again.
Okay.
So we'll have to see. But yeah, certainly that was disappointing in the first quarter.
Right.
Yeah. It's such a great vehicle too. So it's,
Yeah. Again, my point about brand damage, and I'm the probably the earliest one to say that I didn't think we would see brand damage. In fact, we might see brand appreciation as the conservatives started buying the cars. I started saying that what 6, 9 months ago. But the Cybertruck being such a standout vehicle, such an obvious target, if you will, on somebody's for abuse, that I can imagine some people potentially putting off are not buying, not because they're mad at Elon or anything else, but just because they don't want the abuse.
yeah. And from my personal experience, recently had a trip, drove the family up to Washington, D.C. for a few days.
Uh-huh.
Um, we had Sentry mode on every night at the hotel and parking lot, and every morning we'd wake up and check out the videos.
Yeah.
And every single one of them were people who were just curious about the vehicle and were standing close to it. No one did anything to it.
Uh-huh.
A few times people took selfies with it,
Uh-huh.
right? In DC itself, we had no overt issues with anybody.
Nice.
We did have one guy on the Washington Mall give us the middle finger salute
I see.
the day that we were leaving.
Okay.
So, there wasn't nothing, but for the most part, everybody was positive. Everybody was curious. We had a lot of people at Superchargers, want to check out the vehicle,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
ask us if they could see inside and that,
Sure. Sure.
those kinds of things. In that case, those are mostly other Tesla owners.
Right.
So, I think the perception that, Cybertrucks are under attack, I think is a false one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Certainly it's happened in certain places,
Right.
but for the most part, people are just curious about the vehicle.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Yep. Positive. Yep.
All right. So now let's talk a little bit about the difference between the production number of 362 and the delivery number, 330. Was it 336 or 338? I forget.
I don't remember.
In that range, right?
Yep.
There's a difference, I think, of about 25,000 vehicles.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we look at inventory, well, first of all, before we go here, if you think about it, when Tesla produces a vehicle, they can't just instantly deliver it,
Right.
right? It rolls off the factory floor. They have to put it on a train, truck, a ship, sometimes a combination of two or more of those to get it to the customer. So there's naturally a delay. I estimate that worldwide the delay is about 3 weeks.
Mhm.
on average.
Mhm.
Okay. So what we can do here then is look at the global vehicle inventory. And so at the end of the quarter, my estimate is that they had 23 days of vehicles. So the inventory rose. And so a lot of people look at this and say, well, here's evidence that they couldn't sell everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, if you look at this though, this assumes that the vehicles are evenly delivered over a 75-day quarter. That's a 6-day week is kind of how the industry does this.
Right.
Okay. But what happens if you don't have any vehicles to deliver for a period of time because you're not producing them? So if we knock this down, let's say to 50 days, we might get 16 days of supply. This number, in my opinion, is still overstated because, again, it doesn't account for the ramp. Tesla was probably producing more vehicles at the end of the quarter than they were at any time during the quarter.
Mhm.
So again, these numbers are averages, and so even this is probably not right. It's a bit like what we had here in the first quarter last year. Same situation with a blowout of inventory.
Right.
And we now know that those vehicles were just on ships. They just weren't able to be delivered. They were in transit, right?
Indeed.
With the shipping delays that we had in Q1 of 2024,
Mhm.
right? So similar sort of thing going on here. And then, of course, you have to take into account the fact that it takes time to deliver the vehicle. So what I look at is what I call true inventory days, where I take the inventory, subtract out transport time of, let's say, 18 days. And I think that the true inventory for Tesla essentially is still negative
Yeah.
at the end of the first quarter.
Got it. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Again, these are approximations. It's not probably not always 18 days every single quarter, but just to be consistent, just to apply that, I think gives us a decent picture of where Tesla's inventory is.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always liked this chart.
Thank you. All right. Let's talk about a bright spot for sure in the earnings or the production and delivery report, and that was the energy business,
Yeah.
right? And so this is actually a pretty strong first quarter. Now, first quarter last year saw a sequential increase from Q4. So I was sort of hoping for that this time around, although I will take this. This is a very strong number
Mm-hmm.
relative to the Q4 number that we got. The 10.4 gigawatt hours in one quarter is fantastic,
Yeah. Yeah. That would be roughly the capacity
of Lathrop.
of
Yeah.
Lake. Right.
Yeah. Now we also need to factor in the fact that they have about 10 gigawatt hours of capacity of power walls or something
Right.
in that range,
That's right. That's right.
right? Um, so
Yeah.
that's
So,
that's good.
so a max capacity counting both will be around 13, which is why I keep expecting a 14 or a 15
Yeah.
sometime to balance out the ones that were less than 13. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we will get there. There's definitely some serious lags in this business. Interesting to note, though, that cumulative deployments now of storage products, Powerwall and Megapack,
Mm-hmm.
are now about 73 gigawatt hours.
Hmm.
Okay. Now the current capacity, we'll get there in a second. Just keep that in the back of your mind, the 73 gigawatt hours cumulative deployments. Here is the storage deployed over rolling 12 months. And so we're now at about 37 gigawatt hours
Mm-hmm.
in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
So about half of the total storage ever deployed was
Mm-hmm.
done in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty nice.
And again, the capacity would be around 52.
Capacity now, if you factor in Shanghai, is around 90.
Okay, adding 90, you would have, yeah, about 90, right?
Yeah.
90, 92. Yeah, okay.
And then, of course, we've got the other Megapack factory being put together in Houston, near Houston, that'll add to that.
Right.
But that's not online yet, so it's not really official capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, so there's plenty of room here within their capacity to grow up to this, right?
Right.
90 gigawatt hours. And so again, the cumulative lifetime deployments of storage products is 73, so it's down here. And we now have an annual capacity of about 90. So we should expect some strong growth in this business in the coming years,
Oh, yeah.
right? Here is actually the growth rate. It's 154% over the last 12 months.
Hmm.
So again, very strong. Um, this line again is going to be a little bit lumpy from time to time, depending on the timing of deployments.
Right.
But the trend is our friend here. Okay. All right. As you may recall, one of the things I like to do is sort of help people understand this, the importance of energy and how it relates to the auto business. So here is Tesla's reported deliveries over rolling 12-month periods. So in the first quarter, over the last 12 months, Tesla has delivered 1.739 million vehicles.
Mhm.
And you can see that is kind of flat now for, call it 7 quarters. Not a lot of growth
Right.
in the auto business over rolling 12-month periods.
Right.
Okay. And that's been very disappointing for Wall Street analysts who think of Tesla as a car company. And that's the flaming heads I have over here. Okay. Now, let's think of megapacks as vehicles.
Okay.
Big, boxy vehicles. Yeah, they don't have any wheels, so they can't really go anywhere, but they're a stationary vehicle, Randy.
Yes.
All right. So if we take each megapack then and convert it into auto equivalents,
Hmm. Hmm.
all right, at 75 kilowatt hour equivalents, then over the last 12 months, that's about 500,000 vehicles. And here's the growth in that vehicle division over time,
Yeah.
right? And so 500,000 is a pretty significant number relative to 1.7. And so what I've done here now is put the two together,
Hmm.
right? So I've got reported deliveries of autos plus the energy EV equivalents,
Hmm. Hmm.
assuming 75 kilowatt hour average pack size for the average vehicle that Tesla sells. So now we're at 2.243 million over the last 12 months, and we've had pretty much growth every quarter except perhaps for one here,
Right.
right? So I think that's an important way to, or one helpful way perhaps to look at Tesla
Yeah.
is yeah, the auto business has been tough, but the global auto market has been really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tesla's not immune to that, right? But the energy business has contributed meaningfully to this growth and will continue to do so in a
I was going to
even
say,
bigger way.
yeah, I was going to say, if we extrapolate that out over the next 8 quarters, um, we have two new factories coming on stream over that 8 quarters. One is already on stream, and then the second one probably toward the end of this year, early
Yeah.
next year. So we would see that continued ramp on the energy. I'm also thinking that at some point they might pretty dramatically increase the Powerwall side as well.
I would expect so over time.
Right.
Absolutely. And also I should point out here, this is just, in unit equivalents, when we factor in profitability,
Right.
the profit of energy products right now is higher than that in the auto business.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the bottom line impact is even larger than what these numbers would show.
So where's the chart? Where's the chart, CERN?
Haven't done that yet. Sorry,
Oh,
I've been
see,
too busy
man.
to crank
I
that out.
I
Yeah.
know.
Have to leave people hanging for more, Randy. We can't just give them everything all at once. All right. So I want to share this with you. This is a transition here we're now in China.
Okay.
Okay. We're driving along the highway in a vehicle. It's not a Tesla. It's a vehicle that uses LiDAR. Two LiDAR systems, in fact. Okay. It's a beautiful sunny day, right? You're driving along the highway. Everything looks great, right?
Mhm.
So as we fast forward through here, you can spot barely in the distance there something in the lane ahead. And the car that's ahead is turning over to the right-hand lane.
Yeah.
Okay. So that car has decided to go around whatever it is coming up. Okay. It turns out that that thing in that lane is stationary. So as this LiDAR vehicle approaches on a beautiful sunny day, it doesn't do anything
Nothing.
but plow,
Oh,
oops, I put these out of order,
uh,
into the back of the truck.
wow.
Okay. And here's how that car looked afterwards.
Eesh.
So LiDAR is not the answer, at least for clear sunny days.
At least,
right?
Wow.
Um, yeah. So if there's anybody out there that still thinks that LiDAR is what Tesla needs to do to make their vehicles autonomous, here's Exhibit A as to perhaps why that may not be the case.
I've talked to two people in the last week who were who've never been in a Tesla, who've never, oh, well, no, I'm sorry, who have never been in a Tesla, which was on FSD at the time. In fact, one of these individuals asked me not to turn on FSD while I was driving her to a location. And and my explanation to both of them was that the number one thing that the algo is set to do is to not hit anything.
Yeah.
That is the number one rule above all is do not hit an object. So that I think that helped, but it didn't cause her to say, okay, turn it on, let's see what happens.
Yeah. I think that FSD makes human drivers that much safer. It sees things
Right.
that you don't. And I would say on my recent trip to Washington, D.C., about 2,000 mile round trip, no interventions on the way up, no interventions on the way back.
Wow.
None.
None. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic on the highways.
Nice.
And I would say in navigating roads in DC, and if anybody's ever been to DC, they know what roads are like there. It's a little confusing for people that don't live there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of turns that are not 90-degree. They're at other strange angles. And I found if I was driving following navigation, there was a challenge, but with FSD, it did it perfectly. So it's really getting to the point where it's tremendously helpful. Now, I would say FSD is not perfect yet,
Right. Right.
right? But the Tesla team knows what's coming with the next updates and the next version.
Oh, I've continually assuming, I've said on the channel many, many times, I think they're already driving a vehicle which they were able to show to the Texas DOT,
Yeah.
take them out in a vehicle for however many hours that is 100% perfect. I mean, when I say perfect, perfect enough to pass DOT for the purpose of not having a driver.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, so I do want to correct myself there. I said when I was driving home, I didn't have any interventions. There was one
Oh,
forced intervention that Tesla forced on me when I went through a little rainstorm.
I see.
It said visibility wasn't good enough. Please take over immediately. So that was one issue. Now, I have seen another video of actually somebody driving a Cybertruck in fog.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you see what the person was seeing visually, would have been very difficult to drive. But apparently, FSD did a great job.
Wow.
Particularly, that front bumper camera seemed to be able to kind of get a better view, I guess, of the road than a driver would. Um, so there's certainly some issues like that to work through. If the cameras are covered by, water in a heavy storm, maybe the vehicle can slow down enough to still be able to drive through that,
Or possibly pulls over.
or
Pulls
possibly
over
pulls
for a while.
over.
I've pulled over in ground fog in Napa. I've pulled over in upstate New York where the fog was so bad that I had to open the door to see if I could find the curb.
Yeah.
That was the only way I was going to be able to make sure I was out of traffic. I have pulled over in a sandstorm going to Phoenix,
Hmm.
where they were warning you on the radio, be careful about even pulling over. Do not keep your brake lights on when you do that because people will think they'll follow you
Mm.
and crush you. So oh, and Gully Washer in Florida, very famous for their major storms, and absolutely got off the road and got under a canopy in a gas station to wait out that storm, as did many others. So
Yeah.
no, there's situations where I don't expect the FSD or the Robotaxi to be able to navigate. It will need to pull over and wait it out just like a human would.
Yeah, and that's probably the safest way to do it. I think a lot of humans might mistakenly try to drive through those conditions,
Right. Yes.
right? But it's probably one of the more dangerous times to be driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about something that's probably on a few people's minds right now.
Well, this seems to me, Cern Basher, like a great time to say pause and turn this into a second show. And I
Sounds
actually
good.
And actually, I think, Cern, I'm going to reverse it. So this is going to be the end of the second show. So for those of you who are watching this on Saturday, probably you've now seen the second half first or something. I don't know exactly how to explain it. Can you explain it, Cern?
The first half second, I think.
The first half second. Okay. So in any case, Cern, say goodnight.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. For all of you that are watching, it has been great